Lagena has discovered a new clue that could finally prove the Oak Island treasure is real. The discovery is not just another old artifact, but a strange symbol linked to ancient European history. The team discovered a cross with 4 dots in an ancient Italian church wall, which was a marker used by the Templars to highlight significant locations. This discovery holds a purpose far greater than anyone expected, and what follows will leave you speechless. Digging deeper into the church's history, it became clear that this place had once been a sanctuary for the Knights Templar, the same group believed to have transported unimaginable wealth across the world. Their things had been hidden in symbols, waiting for the right eyes to uncover them. Rick and his team were doing this because they knew that every new clue comes with its fair share of questions. If the host stone truly carries the same markings as this ancient Italian church, then the Templars not only made their way to Oak Island, but they might have left something behind, something worth hiding. The deeper you dig into Oak Island's history, the more obvious it becomes that something big is buried there. However, history has a way of protecting its greatest treasures. Over the years, countless traps, cave-ins, and strange accidents have plagued every attempt to uncover the truth. Could it be that these obstacles weren't just accidents? Could there be an ancient force, or even modern-day power, keeping the treasure hidden? If the markings in that church prove anything of life, a sacred symbol often linked to divine knowledge, was also seen in a 14th century Templar prison in Dôme, France. The significance of this symbol is impossible to ignore, as it was also seen in a 14th century Templar prison in Dôme, France. The deeper they dig, the more the pieces align. In Dôme, France, the Templars left behind cryptic symbols scratched into the walls of their prison cells. Now, here in Morimando Abbey, those same markings appear once again. If the Templars were hiding something, they left behind a trail, but not one meant to be easily followed. It's almost as if they were preparing for their own downfall, ensuring that their greatest questions would survive even if they did not. For centuries, the Catholic Church and European monarchs sought to erase the Templars, accusing them of heresy and greed. But was it really about faith or something far more valuable? Something worth hiding? Something worth rewriting history as we know it? Many believe that the true motivation behind the Templars' persecution was to seize their vast wealth and sacred relics, treasures that included the legendary Ark of the Covenant. Back on Oak Island, the presence of a Templar-era cross raises even more questions. If the host stone's markings match symbols found in Morimando Abbey, it's possible that the Templars had knowledge of the New World long before Columbus. If they made it to North America, what exactly did they bring with them? The Lagena brothers have discovered a massive underground structure on Oak Island, which could change history forever. They are digging deeper into the legendary Money Pit, which has been marked as highly suspicious by previous searches. Old records hint at hidden structures below, and recent groundwater tests have pointed to traces of gold and silver beneath this level. However, history has taught them that hope alone doesn't guarantee success. As they dig deeper, wooden beams start surfacing, sparking fresh debates among the team. At 110 feet, more pieces of wood emerge, some showing markings, Roman numerals etched into their surface, indicating someone long ago was working underground with a level of organization that suggests purpose. The massive steel tube keeps sinking deeper into the ground, forcing its way through layers of earth and stone. At 160 feet, tension is unbearable, and the team knows this depth has led to incredible discoveries in the past. Some believe they are about to reach a hidden chamber, possibly a treasure vault sealed in thick concrete. However, the entire operation comes to a halt when the steel casing hits something solid, causing the earth beneath them to collapse. Panic spreads as the team realizes they must first understand the island's long and troubled past. The Money Pit legend was born in 1795 when a group of young men, led by Daniel McGinnis, found layers of logs neatly stacked every 10 feet. They made it down about 90 feet and found a big stone covered in symbols, but it vanished. The deeper they dug, the more problems they faced: flooding, collapses, and frustration. In the mid-19th century, the Truro Company began drilling into the pit of Oak Island, a tiny island in Canada. They discovered wooden platforms, soft metal, and coconut fibers, hinting at something bigger. In 1897, a small scrap of parchment with the letters VI written on it was found, hinting at documents, treasure maps, or important records. In the early 19th century, William Chappell and his team found an axe, fluke anchor, and miner's pick traced back to Cornish miners. Robert Dunfield arrived in 1965, digging a massive hole but finding nothing. In the 1970s, the Triton Alliance drills deep, but the footage is too murky and the hole collapses. The Lagena brothers arrive with cameras, high-tech equipment, and a mission to solve the centuries-old problem. They find some things, such as a lead cross, a stone road under a swamp, a garnet brooch, and wood from deep underground, hinting at man-made tunnels. Soil testing shows high amounts of silver below the money pit, which could mean treasure. Rick Lagena and Marty Lagena, the stars of The Curse of Oak Island, were obsessed with the idea of buried treasure and the unsolved nature of the island. They bought a controlling stake in Oak Island Tours Inc., the company that owned most of the island, and their efforts became a full-blown television show. Rick was the heart of the story, while Marty was the brains behind the operation. He is an archaeologist and historic preservation expert who has been in over 117 episodes of the show. His skills are welcome, as they rely on him to protect and explain some of the treasures and clues they find on the island. An archaeologist can make a salary of $46,000 to $100,000 a year. Adding in the historic preservationist expertise, which, as a career, can make over $50,000 a year, can be counted on to make his expertise all the more valuable. So in truth, his salary as an archaeologist can be more than double the average, to over $120,000. LagIna describes himself as a self-employed archaeologist, and he studied sociology and social anthropology at Dalhousie University. But more than this important cornerstone of his identity, he is also a businessman. He is also the owner of In Situ Cultural Heritage Research Group, a company that provides archaeological, research, and historic preservation services that has been running for over 25 years. His company is internationally recognized, and his research group is said to be worth $22 million. His dedication to historical preservation efforts is well respected and acknowledged in the historical preservationist community. Like many of the crew on Oak Island, he gives a lot of interviews, seminars, and guest speaking engagements for different events and occasions. He is even slated to speak at the Chester Municipal Heritage Society's annual meeting in May of this year. Given the prestige, respect, and expertise of LagIna, alongside his many episodes on Oak Island, his net worth is estimated to be around $4 to $5 million at the lowest. Some estimates would place him at $16 million. Rick Lagena. Rick is the older brother to Marty, and he used to be a United States postal worker. While living in Michigan, he learned to see the world in a very old-fashioned way. He lived by an old code of conduct where honor and determination meant everything. This is how he has been able to keep believing in his dream of finding the Oak Island treasure. A postal worker would make around $62,000, $122,000 a year. While this is a good living, it is unlikely to be able to fund a treasure hunt of the size needed to search Oak Island. His net worth has skyrocketed since joining the show, as he has been in over 100. Gold mining may look very careful and serious, but even the most skilled miners make mistakes from time to time. Miners have had their fair share of ups and downs, from small mistakes that are easy to miss to big ones that cost a lot of money and make team members angry. Come with us as we look into the most stupid parts of the gold rush, putting the $1 million dredge down. The dredge owned by Tony Beets sank for the second time in 6 weeks. He was told to go down and check on the dredge, even though it was his day off. What Tony saw when he got there could have been better. That machine held a lot of money, and it was just sitting there. It wasn't a happy moment. It looked like the team knew how bad things were, but they didn't know where to begin. The issue had to be fixed, but it was extra hard because the machine had to work by the time Tony got back. They were working on the pontoons to get rid of the water and get the dredge to float again. They thought something was broken. The pontoons quickly filled with water. Knowing how bad things were getting, one of the team members just turned around and signed, saying that Tony and Kevin would not be happy with this. When they tried to fix things quickly, there was too much water in the pontoons, so they just tried to lighten the load to get rid of the weight. They were sure that the boss would not be happy with them because the company loses about $1,000 an hour when the digger is not working. In the end, that's a lot of cash. They set up 6 pumps to drain the water to fix the problem with the pump that was sinking, but they knew they were losing. They didn't even believe the pumps could do the job. Mike really helped them out by getting a strong pump that could move 3,000 liters of water per minute. After fixing the pump, they left it to do its job. They remembered that $1,000 went by every hour. They had been pumping for water for 12 hours and spent $12,000 on it. They finally pumped the water out of the pontoons. They needed to figure out why the digger sank in the first place. When Roger Redball looked at the dredge and saw that the doors were open, it was a big surprise. The team had been working on their own problems and trying to get through the cut. They realized that this wasn't a natural or technical failure, but rather an error made by a person. Because the doors were open, sand and water could get into the pontoons and cause the dredge to sink. The whole thing was their fault. When Tony and Kevin got back from the sale, they did what they were supposed to do and asked what happened. The mine boss still wanted to know why the doors were left open, even after he knew what had happened. It turned out that the night shift team was to blame. They weren't looking at the digger. Now that the pontoons were fixed, Tony didn't want to point the finger at anyone. He just wanted to turn the dredge around and use it again. Again, the groundwater and water from the holding pond made the dredge float. They were getting ready for the next step. She and her team showed that they were ready, and they asked Mike right away how to move the dredge. Kevin told them to work quickly so Jason wouldn't be able to start digging in the new area. The dredge was going to be turned 90 degrees, which would make the tailings line swing over the road. Careful steps were needed for this. They looked and saw that the back end was pretty close to the shore. With a very important moment coming up, the team knew they had to make some tricky moves to get the dredge through a tough spot. They were hoping that they would be able to make the turn. Even though there might be some problems, they were happy and glad when the dredge was finally in the right place because everything went as planned. When the turn went well, the team took a look at what had happened and was happy with how things turned out. Now that the dredge was ready to start getting gold again, they were excited about the chance to get some prizes. The bucket's noise showed that things were going well, and everyone on the team was feeling good and hopeful about what they were doing. The night shift crew did something really stupid that almost damaged Tony's dredge. But what a new driver did to a truck was even worse. The whole truck was almost destroyed, almost making an engine burst. After 11 weeks of digging, Tony had brought in more than 1,000 ounces of gold. But he wasn't completely happy. There had to be more made. In two of his cuts, the 8-acre blue cut and the 9-acre cold cut, he was trying to catch Paradise Hill's sought-after white Chanel pay run. But the weather had been bad for him for the past 6 weeks. He was back in the cold cut, where there was still a lot of money to be made. To make up for the time he lost, Tony planned to sluice day and night for the first time this season to double his output. 3 new drivers were brought in to help the team because there was a lot of work to be done. The 3 guys were way too excited about the season. They thought it was great to be over there trying to work off the ladder and hoping to work in the yard and see some real good. It was better than seeing them with fancy jewelry on. They had to show Tony they had the right skills before they could work the night job. The boss had a lot of faith in them. He told them that if they were smart and wanted to learn, they could learn anything about welding or motors. They could find a way through life if they knew which way to go. The rookies were to be trained by Megan Gondet, who had worked for Parker before going back to work for Tony the previous year. Thomas was one of the newbies, and she told him not to do anything crazy, but to focus on being more productive. But Thomas had done a really stupid thing. It was back at the yard that lead mechanic Kevin Beat noticed something wasn't right. He was working on the trucks that were needed for the Paradise Hills Blitz. Where was the 4th truck? It turned out that Thomas was in charge. The trouble was that truck number 4 was broken, too hot, and couldn't be used. Kevin marked cars that needed repairs before they could be used with lockout tags. What a stupid thing Thomas did. He didn't care about the tag, and it wasn't even signed. Thomas made a big mistake for a first-timer. It was a big deal to take a truck with a lockout tag on it. Thomas was putting the engine at risk, and Tony now knew about it. Thomas had a good chance of getting sent off, but it didn't happen. He was told by his boss to get back in a truck. He gave the new driver another chance, but this time in a truck that was in good shape and had been signed out. The newbies were full again. More trucks were better. We saw Tony having trouble with water and his dredge, but he wasn't the only one who had trouble with water because of a mistake. Parker has his fair share of water issues. In his case, he almost lost all of his wolf cut pay, a mining site that is now underwater. Parker was looking for a pay streak in the 4-acre wolf cut on the far side of his Alaskan claim. He hoped that it would bring him at least 1,000 ounces this season. The group was trying to get to pay dirt 30 feet below, but they had to dig out 1,000 yards of extra material. 4 more feet would bring them to the water. The Chester Cut was being mined by his team. His mechanic, Mitch Blashka, was taking care of the big machinery, fixing the trucks, and getting them ready for work. Bree Harrison, who was operating the loader, was moving gold-rich pay dirt through Big Red and getting rid of the useless process rocks and dirt. Brennan Ruock put the dirt that Bree was going to use through the wash plant. There was no standing foreman to be seen during any of this. Everyone was working on their own jobs. He still hadn't shown up to tell the team what to do that day. They were already weeks behind schedule. Things would go a lot better if Parker showed up and stayed.
Perhaps another road line. The discovery and exploration of this road represent a chance to connect with the history of the island, piecing together the activities that took place there long before the modern era of treasure hunters and explorers. Every artifact and structure uncovered adds another layer to our understanding, suggesting that its history is far richer and more complex than anyone might have guessed from the surface. As we wait for the spring and the resumption of work, we are left to wonder about the stories that lie beneath the surface. What were the people like who built this road? What were they doing on the island? How does this road fit into the larger history of the area? These are the questions that keep historians, archaeologists, and curious minds engaged with the ongoing exploration. The stone road is an impressive piece of work, made up of about 6,000 stones, showing it was way ahead of its time in terms of engineering. It was built wide and flat, probably so it could handle lots of traffic, possibly from a bunch of people or even carts. The careful construction of the road raises many questions, encouraging the team to delve deeper into the island's past. The discovery of the ancient Portuguese stone road on Oak Island has been a significant part of New World history, providing a model for future research into the history of the New World before the 19th century. The road's construction matches well with historical events and artifacts discovered around it, particularly British coins. The discovery has opened up new chapters in our exploration for connections to the ancient ancestors of Polynesia. The road is roughly 3 feet wide and has been built in sections, sometimes with a single layer of stones, sometimes with several. The edges are neatly lined with large basalt slabs, which are then packed in with smaller stones and organic material. The road's widest point at the water's edge, where it's shaped by wave action during high surf, exposes parts of the underlying chocolate-brown sand cliffs and the road's stone structure, now partly underwater. The discovery is not just about finding an old road, it's about piecing together how advanced the builders were in their planning and execution, showing a sophisticated understanding of engineering and local environmental conditions. The stone road's construction reveals a lot about the capabilities and intentions of its creators, offering insights into the technological and cultural advances of the time. The team is eagerly continuing their treasure hunt, driven by their passion and growing curiosity about what the treasure might be and where it could be hidden. Thanks to their meticulous research, the team has formed several theories about the nature of the treasure, backed by various pieces of evidence. One prominent idea suggests that the treasure could be connected to the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar were historically known for amassing and hiding valuable items. They came under sudden and intense scrutiny on October 13, 1307, when the French King Philip arrested members of the Templar Order. Many Templar Knights escaped to Scotland, particularly to the county of New Ross, which is quite close to the island. Sir Henry Sinclair, a 14th century political prisoner and a known Templar associate, fled to Nova Scotia, and his travels and activities in the area are marked by intriguing stone carvings found in Westford, Massachusetts, and Newport, Rhode Island, suggesting Templar activity. The theory holds that the Templar treasure was initially kept in Scotland, and they would have made efforts to relocate their treasure to a safer place. Further investigations on the Orne Islands by Alexander St. Clair, a knight and descendant of Sinclair, appear to have been aimed at exploring the most effective methods to transport the treasure back to Scotland. The treasure hunt on the island of Nova Scotia is not just about financial gain, but also about connecting present-day discoveries with historical events and figures. This connection enriches the search, providing a deeper meaning and context to the search. Each clue uncovered feels like a direct line to the past, offering insights into the lives and actions of those who came before. Connecting the treasure hunt to the Knights Templar adds a new layer, mixing history with exciting legends that fuel the team's drive. The hunt has gathered a wide audience, encouraging a wider discussion about the implications of such discoveries, how they are handled, and what they mean for our understanding of history. As new technologies and methods become available, the team integrates these tools into their search, refining their strategies and approaches in hopes of finally uncovering the long-sought-after treasure. The search for treasure is more than a mere treasure hunt. It is a complex exploration of history, technology, and human curiosity. Each step taken on the island is a step back in time, a piece fitting into the vast jigsaw of human history. The Lagena brothers and their team continue their quest, not only looking for treasure, but also for connections to our shared past, making every find a valuable piece of the larger historical picture. At the Chapel of Roslyn excavation site, a new team joined in and discovered that the entrance was cleverly rigged with traps, including a water tunnel leading all the way to the sea. This intriguing twist adds weight to a well-thought-out idea about the island's past that the Lagena group has been piecing together from their research. Rob McInnes, a filmmaker and writer active in